I decided this year that I was going to watch all of the Gundam shows in chronological order. Not in a year. I don't think that's possible. Especially me. I am an extremely slow show watcher. I usually need somebody to help me watch things, which was the plan, but I think there's gotta be like some kind of Gundam curse where you start this with somebody and they just like stop talking to you by the time you're in the middle of Zeta. Growing up, my favorite trash anime of all time was Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. I was one of the Seed girlies, and I'd only seen that show like 4 or 5 times at this point. But at a certain point, I'm like, there are more. They've made other shows with the Gundams. Maybe I should watch those. So that is my one point of reference, which was a very interesting experience watching Mobile Suit Gundam 1979, because I've learned since watching the whole thing, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed is a remake of it. And before I dive into my thoughts on it, just a disclaimer, I'm not a professional reviewer. I'm just a girl, and I love melodrama. So I think I'm in the right place. I hope you enjoy my brilliant thoughts on Mobile Suit Gundam 1979. First of all, it is absolutely batshit insane what they were allowed to put on TV back in the day. Honestly insane, and also kind of refreshing, because this was a time before there were like rules. Like studio execs are like, well, no, you have to create a girl character, or no, the protagonist has to go through this certain narrative arc. This was also, I think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, gently, nicely, please. I know this fandom is extremely passionate. It's also like 50 years old, so, you know, there are a lot of you fans out there. But I feel like this was before like the true shonen genre really like took off and became solidified in its archetypes. It's crazy because everyone I knew that was a fan of Gundam was a girl. It is kind of wild to acknowledge that, like, I think the majority, yeah, it's not, I think it's true. The majority of you guys are like men, which, you know, I took into consideration when I was watching that perhaps I was not the target audience. However, I did overall find this show enjoyable. It is not the best thing I have ever seen. I do appreciate over everything kind of this vision that the creator had. You could tell kind of in a George Lucas Star Wars way that there was somebody who had a world, a story, just everything, and $3 to do it. Yes, the animation was pretty rough, which is, I think, to be expected for a new animated TV show about a mecha robot, which is also something that I found interesting. There was only one Gundam, unlike maybe some of the more modern Gundams where everyone has a Gundam. I think it gives that kind of sense of responsibility to the protagonist. It was really impressive that Mobile Suit Gundam 1979 passes the Bechdel test. Female pilots, it's kind of crazy. At least in the area of Gundam I was watching, there were none. They have been relegated to secondary roles, but you have Sayla, who is very much Amuro's equal. You have many women in the cast. You didn't have the issue of, okay, there's one token woman on the crew. They all have their own distinct personalities and backgrounds, and well, they all share the same goal of staying the fuck alive. The white base just is crawling through shenanigans they're being put through on both sides. I think if I saw it for the first time, like if I was younger, I think this idea of like, wow, none of the organized military factions on either side of this war are particularly good. And I think that would have like changed my brain chemistry a little bit. The one criticism I have of this show, and I think this is controversial, someone might crucify me in the comments, and that's fine. Not sure I'm super sold on the execution of the new type subplot. I will go ahead and say I think that was tacked on at the end, and nobody in the writer's room, if there was a writer's room, could agree on when and how and why it was there. Which happens. Writing is very difficult. I understand like it's a really big part of the universe, and it does become more fleshed out in the sequel, which I'm watching right now, but I don't know if I'm completely sold on it. I think it is the breaking of genres, because you go into this show and you're like, it's sci-fi, and then the fantasy elements get introduced 10 episodes before the show ends. I think it's an interesting concept. I have nothing against it, and I know where they were going with it. It is such a pivotal part of the show that you have like clairvoyant people that I would have liked to have more time dedicated to it. It is obvious that this crew, not the literal one, the one that was making the show, was kind of flying by the seat of their pants. Listen, I still think it's an admirable effort. Like, it's so hard to make a cohesive story. Another thing that really surprised me about this show was just the body count. Everyone dies. And it's like something that you're like not allowed to do anymore in modern TV. Like, you can't kill off 95% of the cast. I kind of admire it. It was jarring at a certain point when I'm like, man, I can't get invested in anyone because everyone dies within 24 minutes. Overall, driving home this idea of like war takes casualties from both sides. It's relentless and it kind of spares nobody. It takes the poor, the rich, men, women, young, old, like no one is spared, which I really felt. I think the high body count really drives it home. Like, no. I really did go through this entire show like, oh my god, like they're going to kill everybody. Like, I don't think I can be invested in anybody. Just scared for my life. I think they executed the character development of pretty much every single main character like very, very well. The pacing for it was right, and a lot of the changes in character motivations and dynamics, they were very convincing because of everything that they were going through. It was very much like a show and tell. There were some moments where they were like, Amuro is traumatized. And I'm like, I do see that he is traumatized. Perhaps it is because of all the trauma that he is going through currently. I can see if you were a teenager or young person in the 70s and 80s, how this would have like changed your brain chemistry. Overall, I give Mobile Suit Gundam 1979 a 6 out of 10.